Hello everyone, I am back with another video because I didn't get to cover everything I wanted to talk about in my first video. If you missed it, my first video was a retrospective on Final Fantasy VII Remake 2 years later, celebrating the 2-year anniversary of the release of the original game on April 10th, 2020. Today I want to talk about what I feel were some of the missed opportunities in FF7 Remake. Just a slight caveat before we get started. That first video was very painstakingly edited, and because of that, took about 30 hours to piece together. This one will not be in that same flavor, but instead just some more thoughts. So if you want to listen to it as more of an audio thing, go for it. This is mostly going to be random footage as I talk. So, as much as I really loved so much of Final Fantasy VII Remake, I will admit that I don't have the same rose-colored glasses about the first game now as I did back then, in terms of like it as an actual game. I actually do really love the story in a lot of ways, and I expressed that very much in that first video. But as I played through the game a couple more times, I felt myself wanting a bit more. To be fair to the developers, this wish list is probably a little ambitious and would have probably pushed the game back even longer than the 5-year wait. So I understand them having them, and honestly, it's not even that long of a list. I originally thought this video would be the top 5 things Remake should have included, but these were really the only 3 that stood out to me. Number 1, lore-relevant side quests. I think most of us would agree that the side quests in Remake weren't all that great. In fact, they were a bit bland. But even worse than that, they just didn't add much in the way of storytelling. In fact, the only real lore-y side quests were the ones about the Angel of the Slums, and if we're being honest, it wasn't all that interesting. Maybe a little charming, but not very interesting. In my opinion, if you're gonna put a limited set of side quests in the game, then you might as well put effort in making them somewhat relevant to everything. For example, I would have really liked if the side quests we did get revealed even more about the shadiness of Shinra. After all, the journey of Remake Part 1 is Cloud going from a mercenary who goes after Shinra for money to a companion who joins Avalanche in an all-out assault on Shinra. Granted, it's mostly to save someone he might be developing feelings for and who helped save Marlene, but it would be great if Square Enix used the side quest to help reveal how terrible of an entity Shinra is. Doing so would not only have been juicy from a lore perspective for OG fans, but it would help really build up Shinra as a villain for new players. I can imagine if you learned about ways that Shinra really exploited people, especially as a new player, it could have helped make the attack on the Shinra building even more satisfying. Instead of just being, screw Shinra, we're getting Aerith back, it could have been, yeah, we're getting Aerith back, and we're taking these bastards down with us. Plus, it would have probably been an even more shocking plot twist for new players when Aerith tells the party that Shinra isn't the real enemy. You're telling me this evil-ass corporation that's doing all these crazy things isn't even that big of a threat? Or maybe they could have just revealed some gossip about the characters. Maybe on a quest you learn something about Barrett from the quest giver, or maybe the quest giver is someone Tifa is close with and she reveals something to you about Tifa. I don't know exactly, but I wanted the side quests to be just a little bit more interesting and a better use of our time, our limited quests, so they could reveal a little bit more about the characters, the world, and everything that's a part of Midgar and FF7 Remake. Number 2, more downtime in Midgar. Sure, there are lots of jokes and good times to be had in FF7 Remake, but it feels like we got a little shortchanged. I really wanted to go for that night on the town with Tifa. The absolute best stuff in FF7, both in the OG and the remake, is time spent with the party, just seeing these characters interact. I care about seeing these characters interact more than any other party in any other Final Fantasy I've played. I did want to see more of the upper plate. They tease it right at the opening. And I've been wanting more of Midgar since I was a kid. I wanted it in the original, I wanted it in, and kind of got it in Advent Children, and I really wanted it here. It's like once we got back from the Jesse mission on the upper plate, which was really just a light jog through a sleepy residential street, the game said, okay, enough of the fun, you'll get more of that when we reach Wall Market, but you've had enough. No, I didn't. I want to be Tifa's pack Chocolo. But seriously, I hope this is something they do a bit more of in Part 2. Obviously, it won't be in Midgar, but I want a little more leisurely relationship development time in Part 2. Don't get me wrong, I think it's better to have a tight plot, and I don't mind the linearity of FF7 Remake, because some games can give you too much downtime, but I want to feel like I'm getting some quality time with everyone, and not just on a tireless hunt. They don't even have to be quests, even just little asides when it's time for the party to rest, like in this moment from FF15. Imagine having a little moment like that in part 2. Hell, that was what was so exciting about the chapter 14 resolution scenes. It was like, oh snap, we're gonna have a little conversation with these characters. That's all they were, conversations. And I want more of them. Number 3, more fun in games. This is somewhat related to the last one, but more specifically in the vein of games. So thankfully, we'll definitely get this from Gold Saucer in part 2, but I wish there were more little games to enjoy. Very little of the world is interactable in FF7 Remake. You don't even really interact with NPCs, you just basically overhear them as you pass them. And aside from the inability to go into Avalanche HQ, which is just... Even that damn pinball machine mocked me when I looked at it. Okay, this version of Barrett doesn't trust Cloud enough to let him in the secret lair, sure, whatever. Let me at least play the damn pinball game. The darts were cool, sure, but I don't know. The world just felt a bit like a pretty coat of paint. Sure, it was really beautiful and all, but it felt a little shallow, if we're being honest. Even if there was some little game you could play with the kids in that one playground in Sector 7, instead it just becomes a starting point for a really boring quest about cats. And at night, it's home to your worst nightmares.
Wow. What is this child doing here? What are you doing here?
I like playing the part, do you?
I'm gonna slowly walk away. All right.
Oh, I guess we got Whack-A-Box, but let's be real. That was only mildly fun. I want Flip Cup, or Dominoes, or Arm Wrestling, or something just light and fun that you'd actually see walking around a real slum. At least the DLC gave us Fort Condor, I guess. And that's it. You know, like I said, it's not a giant list, but I think all 3 would have really improved the quality of the game overall and made us feel an even greater attachment to the characters and the world. Alright guys, it's YouTube, so you know the rule. If you liked the video, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like and subscribe buttons so you can get more of these kinds of thoughts. The ones I'm really looking forward to doing are some initial hopes for part 2, and the first topic I'm thinking of touching on is what I'm hoping for from the Nibelheim flashback. That one should be fun. Anyway guys, let me know what you wish Square Enix had included in Remake Part 1. What do you think were the missed opportunities? I'll see you later.